We recently took our first family trip since Southwest has changed some of their guidelines, how they do things, how they do their boarding process, seating process, and all of that good stuff. And this was a big change for us because we pretty much, flying out of Kansas City, only fly Southwest. So I wanted to share some of those changes, how they did or didn't affect us, and how actually having a Southwest credit card gave us some perks to navigate these changes with Southwest. That being said, before I do, I just wanted to quickly introduce myself. Hi, I'm Kinsey, a mom of 2 little girls, sharing realistic motherhood, family travel, and everything in between. So I'm so glad you're here. Okay, like I said, if you have flown Southwest, if you've flown Southwest before, you're looking to fly Southwest, you're gonna see some changes. If you've never flown Southwest before, then maybe this will at least give you an outline of what to expect moving forward, if that's something that you're looking into. But like I said, I'm also going to share a few of the card benefits against the changes that they have made. So the first biggest, actually, I feel like they're all kind of big changes, but one of the first biggest changes is that you could have 2 checked bags per person for free when you flew Southwest. I believe it was 2. Maybe I'm going crazy, but either way, it was minimum 1 per guest, believe 2 per guest. However, no matter what it was, that is now out the window, and you do have to pay for your checked bags. There are no longer free checked bags with Southwest. I feel like this is kind of what they sold themselves on initially, but now with that changing, that is a little bit of a bummer because it really made them stand apart from the others in that sense. So full transparency, I have a Southwest credit card and it's only under my name. My husband's actually not on the Southwest credit card. But that being said, as me being the card holder, one of the perks is that I am able to get a free checked bag for each person in my travel party. So it was me, my husband, and my 2 girls. So I was able to check a bag for me, my husband, and one under my oldest's name. And all of those were free. So while they have gotten rid of the free bags, being a card member, I was still able to get all the free bags we needed. I didn't have to put all 3 under my name. Obviously, I had to put it under me, my husband, and my daughter, which everyone's stuff was in every bag. So it's not like anyone's bag was specific to one person, but that definitely helped us with flying because flying already gets so expensive, and not having to pay for the bags themselves was a huge perk for us since that's something that they have changed. The second thing that has changed is Southwest used to have no assigned seats at all. It was basically, if you've flown them before, you know, it was like a first come, first serve. First come, first serve. That doesn't sound right, but I think it's right. Either way, it was like first come based on the boarding pass that you got, or boarding group that you got at check-in. So you would get A, B, or C, and you would get like A 50 or B20 or whatever, and then you would board in that position, and then you would take whatever seat was available. So that is no longer true. One, there are assigned seats. So that's like change to point A in this is that there are now assigned seats. So you have to pick your seat upon booking your flight, or if you do the basic fare, you're essentially taking your chances and getting assigned a seat at check-in. As a card member, you actually get kind of an early access pick to the seats that are still available if you do that basic package, i.e. if you choose not to select your seats and just do the basic fare, you do have the option to look at what seats are available 48 hours before your flight. So basically 24 hours before the 24-hour check-in, and then select your seats that way. So you kind of get first pick of the seats that are left. That being said, this is not something that we did because we didn't want to risk it with us flying as a family of 4. I'll get to that in a minute. But that is something that you can do with the new assigned seat scenario with a Southwest card. That is a benefit that you can get. And then another thing that has changed with boarding, point 2, or topic 2, point B, bullet point B, is that They're no longer boarding groups A, B, and C. They're no longer numbers to those boarding groups. It's specifically just boarding groups 1 through 8. And so it's kind of like any other airline. If you have your assigned seats, when you check in, you'll get your boarding group, i.e. when you're going to actually get on the plane to go to your assigned seats. So it's a lot more similar to other airlines in that way. Another card perk that goes against the boarding groups is that you can not get any boarding group past 5. So the furthest or latest boarding group you can get is 5. So that's kind of just like a nice perk that if you forget to check in, you check in late, whatever, you know that you're not gonna get 6, 7, or 8. You're always gonna get like latest 5. I will say both times I checked in pretty much right at the time I could check in, and I got 5, which is a little suspicious to me. Like, do I only get 5? Either way, we had the assigned seats, so it wasn't a huge deal, but just know that your one card perk is you're never at risk of getting the latest boarding groups of 6, 7, and 8. And then the last thing that I wanted to point out that has changed along with the way that they do boarding, there's no card perk against this specifically, but they no longer have family boarding. So that kind of ties back into when I was saying that we didn't want to do the 48-hour pick whatever seats left and risk it, because our girls are 3 and 5. We didn't really want to risk us not being able to get seated together. So I went the safer route and did the assigned seats and paid for the assigned seats so we could all sit together. Like when we flew there, we had a row of 3 and then 1 across. And then when we flew back, we had a row of 3 and 1 in front on the aisle so that we could all be together, especially with the girls being so little. I feel like either way we would want to sit together, but especially with them being so little, I wasn't willing to risk it. That is honestly probably because again, this was our first time flying as a family since they've made those Southwest changes. That was probably the biggest con. I think some of the cons were a little bit avoided because I was a Southwest card member. And I will say I will leave the Southwest card link below. Just if you're interested in that, a lot of the times they do have really good sign-up bonuses, things like that. We actually last year when we went to Disney World, we were able to get round trip flights for all 4 of us for like $70 because of the sign up bonus that I had gotten when I signed up for that, against a few points that I already had, covered almost the entirety of our round trip flights for 4. So that's a bonus in itself. You can continue to earn points, and then you also just get perks for being a card member when you do fly Southwest. So definitely something to look into, but I will say that seemed to be the biggest con, was that there was no family boarding. I do think that the next time I fly again, if it's just me or me and my husband, I would take my chances at the 48-hour picking seats just because I'm curious to see how it would work. But we did not risk it this time because we wanted to sit as a family. That being said, that kind of wraps up some of the changes, some of the perks I get against those changes as a Southwest card member. Definitely something to consider if you are somebody who travels a lot or is looking to travel as a family, looking to travel a little bit more in the future, or if you specifically have a lot of Southwest flights. So anytime you do fly, you're gonna mostly be flying Southwest. I feel like that's how we are, flying out of Kansas City most of the time. And I hope this was helpful. I hope if you're looking to travel, I know there's a lot of stress that comes around travel. So I hope this was helpful and kind of gave you some tips, some insight into what it's like flying Southwest with kiddos. And hopefully you can make the right decision for your family. If this was helpful, make sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more travel tips, mom life, everything in between. And thanks so much for being here. I will see you in the next one. Bye.